Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Some Guy Earning Achievements, where I, just some guy, earn achievements. In the last part we completed a handful of side quests that award achievements. In this part we will complete all the remaining ones. For the first side quest we head past the Super Duper Mart and up into Greyditch. There we meet a young boy named Brian Wilkes who warns us about some monsters that have infested the town, killed everyone, and are currently toasting out Tookus. We agree to find his father and tell him to take shelter while we do. The monsters in question are giant ants that breathe fire, and unfortunately for Brian, his father has come down with a case of no longer living. We tell him Fred's dead and he takes the news surprisingly well, but we vow to avenge his father for him. A terminal in the shack next to Brian's house reveals we may find more answers in the Marigold metro station, so that's where we head next. Inside the metro tunnels we come across Dr. Lesko. He tells us that he has been experimenting on the ants to try and reduce their size, but apparently forgot to carry the one and has instead created Flammenwerfants. We agree to head down into the nest and eliminate the Guardians so he can reach his computer, but are told that we are not to harm the Queen. Down in the hatchery, we take care of
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Nest Guardians and emit the inhibitor pulse that will cause the remaining ants to frenzy and attack one another, all without harming Queenie. Dr. Lesko thanks us for our help and rewards us with a mutagenic bioenhancer that will either increase our strength or perception. We opt for the site and with our work in the metro tunnels complete, head back to Brian Wilkes. He says he is unable to give us a reward because he didn't have much to begin with and guilts us further by saying he now has to live alone. Naturally we agree to find him a new home and he mentions he has a cousin named Vera who lives on a big giant ship. We travel to Rivet City and upon speaking to Vera Weatherly, she agrees to take Brian in. We return to Brian to tell him the news and he is grateful for all that we have done for him. Once we have finished speaking with him, we finally earn the achievement, Those. Next we head over to the eastern side of the wasteland where we stumble across Discount, Ant-Man and Iron Man. The two have a war of words before their minions engage in a battle where the Mechanist ultimately wins. After a bit more back and forth with the tease of a sequel from the Antagonizer, the two run off to their respective lairs. A man named Uncle Ro comes up and apologises for what we just witnessed, but it was no worse than the current state of the Marvel or DC. Uncle Ro gives us the origin story for the feud and explains how it's affecting the town. As usual we agree to help and head towards the Antagonizer's lair first. We bypass the front door and opt enter through a secret entrance that leads us directly to the villain. Fully committed to the part, she explains her desire for wasteland domination and sicks her minions on us. Unfortunately for her, Dr. Lesko isn't present to tell us not to hurt the Queen Ant. With the Antagonizer defeated, we take her costume as proof and head over towards the Mechanist lair, once again bypassing the majority of it through a secret entrance. Confronting the Mechanist, who is also fully committed to their character, we convince him that he has lived long enough to become the villain. Realising the uncomfortable truth, he agrees to stop being the Mechanist and gives us his suit. With both superheroes dealt with, we return to the town and claim our reward from this kid Derek, as well as earn the achievement, the Superhuman Gambit. Deeper into the waste we come across a shack known as Agatha's house. Inside we of course find Agatha, a lovely old lady with a penchant for music. She tells us she plays songs on a homemade violin for the travelling merchants, but we deduce that her DIY violin may have some loony tunes. In typical old person fashion, she goes on a long tangent to tell us there should be a pristine old world violin still in Vault 92. Thankfully we already know the location of Vault 92 and tell her we will head there at once. On our way to the vault we come across a Deathclaw offering free hugs, but we reject his offer. We eventually come across Vault 92 and find it infested with bloatflies and mirelurks, including a mirelurk king. Deep into the vault we stumble on a recording room, and inside we find the Soil Stradivarius, aka a working violin. We return to Agatha and tell her we have the instrument, to which she compliments its beauty. She says she wishes she was able to give us a more suitable reward, but can only offer the frequency to her radio so we can listen to her playing. Unbeknownst to her, we do receive a suitable reward, the achievement, Agatha's Song. Heading towards the very north of the wasteland, we stumble upon a grove known as Oasis. Treefather Birch greets us at the gate and tells us that he is waiting for us. Inside Oasis, Birch continues to vaguely explain about him and how he wants to meet us, but first we are required to undergo the ceremony of purification. For For the ceremony, we must drink some sap, which seems a bit lame because we heard the folks at Jonestown got to drink Kool-Aid for their ceremony. We drink the sap and the followers yap, so we take a nap and wake up in front of a humanoid tree. Crap. This wooded wonder is Harold, and he is rooted in more ways than one. It turns out that a while back, Harold and his tree Bob, who he calls Herbert for some reason, were exposed to the FEV, and eventually Bob overtook Harold's entire body, rooting them into the ground together. Harold brought us here to ask one simple favour.
Would you please kill me?
After decades of being stuck in the same place, he wants to be put out of his misery, so we agree to his request. As we go to head towards the cave containing Harold's heart, we come across Tree Father Birch and Leaf Mother Laurel debating how we should proceed. Birch wants us to stop the roots from spreading further, but Laurel proposes the opposite. We ultimately choose to do neither, instead opting to destroy Harold's heart and putting him out of his misery once and for all. Back up top we confront Birch, who surprisingly isn't mad at us. It turns out Harold was finally able to get through to him and convey his will to die. He tells us that they will remain here to keep Oasis alive and flourishing, and in return, we earn the achievement Oasis. Heading down south, we arrive at the eyesore of the wasteland known as Tenpenny Tower. Approaching the front gate, we come across a ghoul named Roy Phillips arguing with security over the intercom to let he and his people in, but the residents of Tenpenny have a no ghouls allowed policy. He leaves disgruntled, and when we approach the intercom, we get a warm welcome. Inside, we confront Chief Gustavo and tell him we can help with his ghoul problem. He tells us they are holed up in the nearby metro tunnels, so we head on over and start gunning down Roy's friends. Eventually we come face to face with Roy, and although we try to negotiate, he tells us we picked the wrong ghoul to fuck with. He's clearly mistaken because when we obliterate him and his two friends, the mission updates to say we have successfully killed Roy Phillips and his followers. Returning back to Gustavo, he backhandedly thanks us for solving his issue. For our efforts we are rewarded some caps, but more importantly earn the achievement Tenpenny Tower. If you are disappointed with the way that quest was handled, don't worry because the next side quest we begin is you've got to shoot him in the head. Inside the Ninth Circle, which is inside Underworld, which is inside the Museum of History, which is inside the mall, we meet Mr. Crowley. He seems to have a disdain for humans and tells us about his list of ghoul bigots he wants dead. There are only 4 people on the list remaining and he wants us to hunt them down and kill them with a headshot like in the old zombie movies. To prove we have killed the right people, he says we will need to provide evidence, specifically a key. The first target we opt for is Ted Strayer, who is located in Rivet City. It turns out it was Ted's father who knew Mr. Crowley, and he gives us some more clues about who the ghoul is. Through some forceful persuasion, we are able to successfully acquire Ted's key. The next person we find on the list is Dukov, an interesting character to say the least. When we tell him that Crowley is still alive, he gives us a great idea for a future achievement that he can help us with. Before we bring up any specifics, Dukov mentions about a key. Unlike Ted, Dukov isn't as easy to persuade, so we buy the key off him and let him live. For now. The next target on the list has us head to the northeast side of the wasteland. We arrive at the Republic of Dave and it is the titular Dave who is on our list. Dave reveals some more backstory about what's really going on. Crowley and the men on the list were on an expedition to Fort Constantine to retrieve something valuable, but got locked in with some feral ghouls and was assumed dead. Dave also reveals that you need all the keys to get through Fort Constantine, providing the true motive for Crowley. We successfully convinced Dave to give us his key, now meaning we have all of them, but there is still one name on the list. Returning to Tenpenny Tower, we waltz in through the front door, take the elevator to the penthouse suites, break our way into Tenpenny's room, and confront him on the balcony. When we tell Tenpenny that Crowley is alive, he says the name of the quest.
There it is!
When we ask him about the key, he insults us and says he doesn't have one. Sadly, there is no option to ask him about his head, but we would have gotten the same response. With all the keys in our possession, we decide to head to Fort Constantine ourselves. We head inside the CO quarters and make our way down into the basement, finding another bobblehead in a safe. Using our new keys, we make our way through the launch control bunker and eventually find the coveted prize all the men were looking for, the T-51B power armor. Upon picking it up, we complete the mission and earn the achievement You Gotta Shoot Him in the Head. We return to Underworld and head to the infirmary to begin another side quest. We notice a human unconscious in one of the beds, and Dr. Barrows mentions something called Riley's Rangers. We convince the doctor to wake her up and we meet the titular Riley. She explains that her and her team were ambushed by a large group of super mutants. Although she just barely made it out, her team is still trapped on the roof of the Statesman Hotel. Riley asks us to save the Rangers at all costs, and naturally we agree to do so. We make our way to Vernon Square where the Rangers were working and begin to fight our way through the nearby hospital. Many super mutants stand in our way, but we cut them down because by this point we are nearly unstoppable. We make our way back outside and use a bridge to walk over to the adjoining Statesman Hotel. Inside we come across even more super mutants, but most of them are already dead thanks to the Rangers. Ascending the hotel, we disarm a super mutant master and make our way out onto the roof where we encounter Riley's Rangers. Speaking to Butcher, the team medic, we let him know that Riley is alive and well. We formulate a plan to escape that involves jury-rigging the elevator with a fission battery. Nipping back inside the hotel, we find another master guarding a Protectron that has a fission battery on it. Once in our possession, we return to the Rangers and hand it over to Donovan. With the elevator working again, we head down to the lobby and are immediately ambushed by more super mutants. They didn't stand a chance when it was just Forks and us, and now they stand even less of one with the Rangers by our side. With the Rangers successfully saved, we head for their compound but come across more bloody super mutants along the way. Having had it with these motherfucking soups on this motherfucking quest, we choose the nuclear option. With no more super mutants to stand in our way, we finally arrive at the compound. Inside we reunite with Riley, who thanks us for saving her team and rewards us with a new armour. With our mission over, we earn the achievement, Riley's Rangers. Heading back out into the wasteland, we discover the Temple of the Union. We receive a warm welcome from Simone, who doesn't seem thrilled to see us, but lets us in regardless. Once inside, we meet their leader Hannibal, who divulges that they are all escaped slaves from Paradise Falls, which explains why Simone was so guarded. Hannibal says he has a plan to create a safe haven for all slaves at the Lincoln Memorial, but heard a rumour it is infested with super mutants. We agree to investigate the memorial, but before we set off, Hannibal asks us to have a chat with Caleb. It turns out Caleb is a stonemason who has been tasked with restoring the memorial. Unfortunately, he has no idea what it looked like and tasks us with finding a picture of it from the Museum of History. With 2 tasks to tackle, we head for the museum first to find a suitable picture. The inside of the museum is crawling with feral ghouls, including glowing ones, but our combat shotgun minces them up. We find a picture of the memorial on the wall and then make our way to the real deal. As we approach the memorial, we notice the super mutants are all dead, and in their place are some slavers who must have heard about Hannibal's plans. Things seem civil at first, but our actions at Paradise Falls haven't quite been forgotten, so they open fire on us. It's open season on slavers who put up a good fight, but ultimately end up as red mist on the steps of the memorial. With the coast clear, we return to the temple, give Caleb the picture, and tell Hannibal the good news. He says he will meet us at the memorial, and one quick time jump later, he and his fellow slaves have made it. We are rewarded with the new schematic as well as another achievement, Head of State. Speaking of time jumps, we return to an earlier save to a world where the massacre at Paradise Falls is yet to happen. Grouse has tasked us with enslaving 4 specific people across the wasteland. The first target on our list is Arkansas, who can be found at the minefield. We sneak up on the senior sniper and hit him with a blast from the Mesmetron, stunning the old man in place. We convince him to put on a slave collar and make his way to Paradise Falls immediately, lest his head be blown off. The next target on our list is Red from Big Town. Thanks to our efforts in the last video, we know that Red is locked up in a jail cell in the Germantown Police HQ. We free her from her cell and she foolishly thanks us. With a blast from the Mesmetron and some easy persuasion, we put a collar on her and tell her to get moving to Paradise Falls. Target number 3 is located inside Tenpenny Tower and is a bit tricky to catch as her husband is in the room as well. We wait until he's asleep and hit her with the old Mesmetron collar bomb, which works like a charm. The final target is the hardest of them all, Flack from Rivet City. For the most part he is at his store in the marketplace, or down in the Muddy Rudder, both of which have witnesses all around. By a stroke of luck, we catch him all alone sleeping in bed. His sweet dreams turn to nightmares when we bestow him the same fate as the previous 3 targets. Unfortunately for us, our actions somehow didn't go unnoticed, so we hightail it out of Rivet City, making a daring jump to freedom in the process. Once we return to Grouse for the final time, we complete the mission and earn the achievement, Strictly Business. Returning back to the main timeline, there is only one side quest left for us to do. We reach the town of Girdershade, whereupon we meet Sierra Petrovita, owner of the best Nuka-Cola collection in all of the wasteland. We take the tour of her collection, which seems to even intrigue Forks, and at the end we are gifted an ice-cold Nuka-Cola. Sierra then tells us about Nuka-Cola Quantum, a variant of the standard Nuka-Cola that contains a mild isotope to help it glow, as well as your pee. She asks us to bring her 30 bottles of the uranium urine juice and offers a super secret cool prize, which turns out to be another schematic. We step outside to contemplate her offer and are accosted by Ronald, contender for biggest douche in this video that also has Tenpenny and Dukov. He too knows about Sierra's desire for Quantum and instead asks us to collect them and give them to him so that he can present them to her with the hopes of ploughing her bean field. We try to haggle for more caps but are denied. Fortunately for us, we already have 30 Nuka-Cola Quantum in our possession, but unfortunately for Ronald, he isn't offering a schematic which we need for a future achievement. Plus, like I mentioned earlier, he is a douche. We head back inside Sierra's and hand over all 30 bottles to her. As promised, she hands over the schematics for the Nuka Grenade, and for completing the quest, we earn the achievement, the Nuka-Cola Challenge. With the final side quest of the game completed, that'll do for this part. Thank you kindly for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want more achievement related content, consider subscribing. Hopefully you join me again for the next part where we mop up all the remaining achievements. Until then, take care.